Hello, and that little James Bond intro means it's time for me to do a live stream. I noticed it was only my name on there, which means I have
It's
to go
all
back
good.
to my video editor and and fix that. If you don't know who we are, I am Frank Lavinia, and that's Andy Leonard. And how are you doing today, Andy?
I'm doing well, Frank. How about you?
I'm doing well. Been kind of a crazy month here at Chateau Lavinia. I understand it's probably been also crazy at yours. I'm going to pop that thing out, so if anyone wants to chat, we can mention that. We're recording this show live for Data Driven. Data Driven, we just crossed 4 years of being online. Recently launched season 5.
Wow.
And a couple of great shows with Dave Wenzel out of Philly, and a really impactful show that we did. We recorded it a while ago, but there was some glitches, and there's been, like I said, a lot of craziness at Chateau Lavinia, as well as at Chez Andy. But we had a great talk with Chris Wexler on how he protects using AI and the whole idea of using artificial intelligence as a service, not like as a service as in platform as a service, but is to serve humanity and basically AI for good.
Yeah, it was an amazing show, and I mentioned in the blog post about it, Frank, that when we're doing a show, especially when it's not more than just us, I'm kind of in interview mode, right? I don't know how to explain it. It's not. I'm not being fake, I promise, but I am keyed right in on everything that person is saying, and I'm just waiting for the next opportunity to take something they said and go to the next level with it, pick the best topic. You do the same. And it's almost like we're working when we're doing that. And I'm not really listening to the show. It used to be that you would post the show and I would go in and do show notes. That's before we got transcriptions working. You did that first and then showed me how to do it, which is kind of how the show goes. Frank is a cool one, the smart one, better looking and younger one, all of the good, right? And so he showed me how to do it. So now I'm doing the transcriptions for it. But listening to that, I always listen to the show. It just became a habit. And I was doing it while the transcription software was running in the background. And I love all of our shows, and I'm not trying to compare them. I will say that it's been a very long time since I listened to something that hit me as hard and deep as what they're doing there at CrewNom and with the CSAM and at CSAM. You can go look that up. We want to keep things. If we had a warning at the beginning of the show about little ears, and it was just one of those. It just caught me. I mean, it really was. So very, very impactful. And like you said, season 5, which, this is like 4 seasons beyond where I thought we'd end up. The Data Driven it's been an interesting, I was going to say, the term that popped into my head was comedy of errors, but it had errors. I don't know if it's been a comedy in the modern sense of the word comedy, but maybe in the Shakespearean sense.
In the Shakespearean sense. Let me hide that picture. That's going to be.
No, you should show it.
I will show it. I wanted to wait on that one.
Amazing though, and we're over 180,000 downloads. We're getting a great response. I almost want to stop and say, what's wrong with you people? There's good looking people out there. Frank's good looking. Like I said.
Oh, Bill Ryan, WG. How's it going, man? Legit green screen in the back. Oh yeah, Andy's got a legit green screen.
Yeah, I am. I've actually left it open today. I cover the engineering office in the back there. All you can see really at the resolution we're at on the screen here is you can see my computer bag. It's actually sitting on a wine fridge. Gift from my bride. Yeah. Don't drink in the office. Promise. I think about it sometimes.
You step outside the room, and then
No,
Thanks
I
for
usually
watching,
use,
Bill. Real time. Yeah, I owe Bill a call. Actually, I owe a lot of people a call. It's been a crazy hectic month.
yeah,
But that episode was very moving. It was like,
it was.
we talk about how AI does this. Now we've done this with AI, but I mean, this is a tragedy that's happening. It's unfolding every single day on every
Yeah.
continent. And this is a way that AI can be used to help these kids in their lives. And the question the question that you dropped at the end, and his answer was just extremely moving about
Yeah.
How it ties into his faith and your faith. I mean, that was just like, whoa.
Well,
You
you
know,
share that faith, Frank. I mean,
Yeah.
you do as well. And I was taken aback also by the business model. They're not doing donations. They're actually taking money from. They're running businesses and using that money to fund this effort.
Which is an
incredible.
interesting. It's a great hybrid model. Not every
is.
state in the U.S. has the public benefit corporation. I think Maryland and Virginia do.
Yeah, Virginia does. I think New York may have it as well.
Yeah, it's one of those things
the-
that's kind of growing. I think
The
that
B Corp.
B Corp. Yeah, somebody else calls it
Yeah.
a PBC or something. This was a concept I was exposed to when I worked for Microsoft and doing on the government affairs, civic tech type
Yeah.
stuff, which I thought was an intriguing model because you're not beholden to donors, which a lot of nonprofits, once they get to a certain size, they spend half their time looking for money. So by building in kind of that a financial model that serves a mission, also if your stakeholders or shareholders are, they're going to be more aligned to, okay, well, it's okay if you only make X amount of profit margin. It's not the end of the world.
Right.
And so I think it's an excellent thing. I think it's great that they're doing it. I think that their model is, they're doing the Lord's work, so to speak. And this is not about religion. I mean, this is just about doing the right thing. CSAM, human trafficking, you can kind of figure out what they're talking about. You can go to their page. They were kind enough to share. Chris was kind enough to share his post, and then the Crunom organization was able to do that. And just the fact that they named it after that person, not just in honor of her. Crunom was an artist. I'm not sure if she was a victim of human trafficking herself. I don't remember.
I'm not sure either. I know she tried to help.
She's helping them, and basically, once you help enough people, kind of the certain people that don't want those kids helped, had a chat with her in a Sopranos kind of way, chat with her.
Yeah.
And basically, it's her fame, her name getting out there is what keeps her safe. So the fact that they named it in her honor is that which I think is
it's
it also
show.
kind of, highly listen to it.
Driven. Chris Wexler. Look, search for that. Search for Crunom, and there's links in there and everything else. And it was a huge honor to even find out about him and be able to do that interview, Frank. Again, very, very impactful stuff.
Absolutely.
One of the things we wanted to do today, other than talk to our people out there listening, thank you, our people, and also do a recording for the show. This is going to be a data-driven.tv episode in the future. We're recording this on June 4th, 2021. But Frank and we have talked about this for long.
We've talked about this for at least a couple of seasons.
And it's like we want to interview each other,
right? Because that's kind of the thing. Like people are like, "Well, how would you answer that question?" So it's like, "Well, that's a good question." And that honestly, the whole format idea, since this is a, celebrating 4 years of being online, was I got it from John Lee Dumas from Entrepreneurs on Fire. Like he does the lightning round at the second half of his show, and in part of his podcast training course that I've taken and stuff like that, like you want to have, not every guest is going to be talkative. And we've only had that happen like once, maybe twice.
Yeah.
But having the kind of stock questions is a good thing and it also helps people if they ever picture themselves being on the show, like, how would I answer that? Like for me,
really?
Like when John Lee Dumas asked those questions, I'm like, it helps you think. So
yes.
We have the questions, and I think Andy's going to ask me the questions.
I am. So are you ready, Frank?
I am ready. Oh, one last thing. I did show this. So you mentioned we were talking about AI and the transcriptions are now done by AI. Another thing we switched up last year was we don't have a human anymore doing the voiceover, not the voiceover, the intros. I can't think.
And the outro, yes.
And the outro. And I see John is giving us a comment. Cool. I'll address that in 1 second.
Hey,
so
yeah, well, anytime we get compared to Tim Ferriss, that's a compliment.
My favorite biohacker. In fact, the only famous biohacker in the world has not blocked us on Twitter, Andy.
So far.
So far. Let's not push it. Let's not push it. All right. So what you're seeing here is a video, and this is. Oops. Let's not give away too much today. But I figured you would like to see. One of the things we've done with AI is we've replaced our human voiceover with a AI and a character we call Bailey, which stands for British AI Lady. And this is going to be for our secret project. And this is a sneak peek of what Bailey would look like. So that's Bailey.
That's cool.
And one of these days, we're going to interview her. I think we should do that.
That would be awesome. I can't wait.
I don't know how I would do that live. That would take some. That's going to take some post production.
Yeah, maybe some staging. I think to start
post production.
But
eventually, probably not. Like, I don't know if anyone has access to GPT-3. All right, so here's John's comment. If you don't know who John Wood is, he's awesome. He has a great YouTube channel where he talks about the ins and outs of MLNet. He's even done some stuff in F#, and I think he did a live stream with an F# T-shirt, which I mean that's geek cred right there. I mean, I got my data shirt on,
nice,
which is available in a Data Driven's T-shirt store. But that's not what it's about. We want to interview each other and go ahead with the questions.
I'm going to start. I'm going to ask Frank our first question that we ask every guest. How did you find your way into data? And would you say you found data or data found you?
Oh, I'm gonna quote one of my favorite rappers, and it's like the data life. Paraphrase, not quote. The data life. I did not find the data life. The data life found me. And I kind of went kicking and screaming. Data has always been kind of like in my face, and then I kind of like avoided it, and then. And you and I had this conversation back when we first met in the mid 2000s. Yeah, the life found me. That's right. He bet you even know the song reference. Exactly. Bill is not only smart and awesome. We need to get him on the show. He's one of the guys that convinced me to get into data science. So the whole sort of story began in college when I was just a young lad at Fordham University. Now we're all about that life. I love it. So one of my courses I had to take was a database course, and I didn't really think one way about it or the other. But at the time, I had a consulting gig on Wall Street, working on basically Access as the back end for applications. And Access is kind of like that gateway into the data world, right? Because at the time, there was no Azure, there was no AWS. Amazon hadn't even been founded yet, kids. That's how far back this goes. This is the early 90s. And I was just fascinated because up till then, databases were this giant thing. You had to either run DBase 4 if you want to do it on a PC or DBase 3. It was like this nightmare to get started. So when I took the data science, I'm not the SQL class, I was like, this is pretty interesting, set theory and all that. And check this out. My professor used to work with, that's right, he used to work with EF Cod and Date. He was, so I went to Fordham University up in the Bronx. And here I have my, hang on. And for those of you not watching the video, here's my little souvenir Bronx license plate I got. Represent. And here's the sign I have for Yankee Stadium. So I actually went to college like 30 blocks from Yankee Stadium. And but also one of the things is that a lot of IBM's headquarters is in Westchester County, New York, which is just north of New York City and the Bronx. So a lot of retired or semi-retired IBM people would I love the comments. This is awesome. I will get to them. So a lot of the retired IBM folks would just, like Fordham was the nearest university, so they would just teach there. So a couple of my professors were actually, retired or ex-IBMers, distinguished engineers and stuff like that. And this guy used to work with Cod and Date. So talk about learning from like the source. And it was pretty cool. And it was like, oh yeah, I know him. Like he owes me $20 type. Like it wasn't like, I know so-and-so. I used to work with him. I was like, no, he owes me $20 on Super Bowl bet or something like that. It was just pretty funny.
That is funny.
So to answer the question is that the data life, kept knocking on my door, but I kept saying no. And, then I got into web development and kind of the early days of .com, BarnesandNoble.com. And, then I moved on to kind of Java development and stuff like that, and then into kind of the more UX side of things. And then that's where we met up. And when I was living in Richmond, when I was doing tablet stuff, and I have I have my tablet license plate here too. Not because I collect license plates per se, is that my old license plate when I lived in Virginia said tablet because I was a tablet PC MVP. And I have a New York State souvenir license plate handy, but no dachshund. No, the kids and the wife hog the dachshund during the day.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it really came down to after the collapse of Windows Phone and being laid off from Microsoft that I was like, you know what? I have the skills. I can do this data science thing. It was actually a conversation with Bill, who's commenting on here now. That was the future. And it was like, and it was a Tableteer for the win. That's right. That's old school. My Twitter handle used to be Tableteer, and I just never changed it until a few months ago. Actually, I changed it to Frank Diggs Data. But which is all a long-winded way of saying that data found me. It was a very persistent kind of door-to-door salesman, like knocking on my door. Ultimately, it was the final push was when I was when I was doing government affairs. I was working for Microsoft on K Street, and I went from being kind of a developer evangelist to a technology evangelist. Now that's the difference. Was my audience was completely different. These were congressional staffers, politicians, all sorts of seedy people. So. But they didn't care. Like, hey, look at this new phone, or look at this feature, or look at what you can do with this. And they didn't care about that. But one thing I did discover is that when you showed them data, when you showed them a dashboard about their congressional district and all of these types of visualizations, it got their attention. And that kind of woke me up to the potential of data. And it wasn't until it was June 2016, 5 years ago, this week actually, I went to what's called MLADS, or Machine Learning and Data Science Summit, and because I like the data visualization thing, I like doing that, but I really didn't. I'm an engineer at heart. I didn't want to just sit around drawing cool pictures all day. As appealing as that sounds, after the third day, I'm like, But what actually ended up happening was I kind of saw I had what we refer to in previous shows as kind of the Blues Brothers moment, where I've seen the light. Like somebody was talking about neural networks and how to build those, and I saw wow, there's like a whole career here. And then shortly thereafter, I talked to Bill here, who was a rockin' data scientist, chief data officer, I think, at some company. Nice. And I was like, wow, this is like, there's not only a career, but like a good career. And also, honestly, what appealed to me was, I was a big Windows Phone advocate. I wrote a lot of stuff for Windows Phone, Windows 8 Store. And, let's just say didn't quite reach the lofty heights that we had hoped. And Microsoft doesn't pay my mortgage anymore, so I can be a little more honest about those years. But what appealed to me was math is math, right? So math,
right.
Math is going to be the same. The laws of physics and mathematics are the same, whether or not you're in a data center that's run by a company based in Redmond, a company based in Seattle, or even Mountain View, right? It's all the same. And it is far more, resilient to trouble, right? Obviously, right. I have a sweet spot for Azure and Azure ML Studio and all that stuff. But I mean, at the end of the day, I could take my Jupyter notebook, pipe it out, port it over to Google Colab or even SageMaker, and it's the same thing. Like it's not,
Yeah.
nothing is materially that different. So hopefully that answers the question.
Sure. Yeah. Great answer. Question is, what's your favorite part of your current gig?
I like being back at a startup. I like kind of the opportunities being at a startup afford.
Yeah.
Basically I joined, and then 2 weeks later, I find myself kind of battlefield promoted up to be a leader. And I realized, wow, I'm one of the adults here, so I kind of like having that leadership experience and kind of mentoring kind of a more junior people, crafting out a strategic plan and kind of working from there. In a big company like Microsoft, the strategic plan is dreamt up, somewhere in the Pacific time zone. And then it's kind of rolled out and you're kind of told, what the strategic plan is. Obviously,
Right.
day-to-day stuff, we have some control over, but I mean, by and large, it's far more top down. With this stock company, it's kind of, I have a chance to impact and, change and alter strategy, as well as kind of encourage my team members. I'm trying to get everybody on the team access to LinkedIn Learning, right? Just because
Nice.
I'm a fiend about getting training and certifications.
I noticed that on your Instagram, you post the number of consecutive days you've done of training, and gosh, you're in the 230s now.
Yeah,
Maybe the
today will
twos?
be 240. I haven't
My
done it yet,
goodness.
but I'm gonna do that.
Yeah, that's a number. That's a lot of consecutive days.
That is a lot of. I keep tagging Pluralsight, and every once in a while, Aaron Sconard, the CEO, and no love. I don't know what's going on. What's funny,
I'm friends, acquaintances with Aaron Connor.
When I get to like 250, I'll ask you to call in.
I'll email it. Hey, Aaron.
But, another influencer can block us on Twitter. Anyway, what's funny, I'm not on Twitter as much as I used to be, but on Instagram I'm on there a lot more, and mostly it's dogs, archery, and training.
Yeah,
and the occasional quote on stoicism.
There we go. So I see we have a comment from I think Bill.
Okay, let me see. That's the point. People get stupid about. That's right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, and people love to get their axle. They're wrapped around the axle about stupid stuff like that. Oh, you remember the early days of .NET? VB is, not as good as a C# and blah blah blah. At the end of the day, does it matter? And this goes back to when I was about a wee lad on Wall Street, and somebody was saying, like, well, if you wrote this program in C++, it would be that much more efficient, that much faster. Yeah, but it would take like 3 times the amount of time to write it, and you wouldn't VB. Like, at some point, you have to factor in production time.
Right.
240 is so badass. Thank you, Bill. It's consecutive hours from. That's right. I mean, ML is. Once you get past the stats, it's not that hard. For me, the stats was like, I remember when I was doing all the original round of certifications, I didn't feel like a data scientist until after the stats class. After the stats class, I'm like, I think I can do this. I just found out I have a hard stop in 11 minutes, so we'll have to rock through.
Oh, no. We'll do this. Complete this sentence when I'm not working today. I enjoy what?
When I'm not working, I enjoy. Well, lately I've been getting into archery.
Yeah.
And hanging out with the dogs and hanging out with the kids.
Cool.
Although not necessarily in that order.
Can complete the sentence. I think the coolest thing today is blank.
I think the coolest thing, honestly, and this does dovetail into the training and certification thing, is look how easy it is to learn something.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember, and the statute of limitations have run out, I'm sure. I remember when lynda.com was new. They had all these Photoshop courses and stuff like that, and it was on CD-ROM. And family and dogs for you. Yeah, he's right. Bill knows. I probably should take up jiu-jitsu. The youngins are into Taekwondo, and they like it. But no. So I remember when I want to learn Photoshop, right? the company I worked for, they had a CD burner, which in 1994 was the Sugar Honey Iced Tea, if you know what I mean. And take the acronym, kids, if you don't know what that is. But but they had Lynda.com. This is before I think it was even a .com, but Lynda was known for Photoshop and kind of graphic design classes that she would sell by CD, CD box sets, which were $2,000-$3,000. Let's just say it took an awful lot of effort to get my hands on those and make my own copy to watch at home. But now, literally, whether it's Pluralsight, whether it's the thing Andy and I are working on, or LinkedIn Learning, or YouTube, just the opportunity to learn is just amazingly fast. I mean, I'm curious about, expanding into the cybersecurity space. Boom. There's hundreds of LinkedIn courses on that. There's hundreds of courses on Pluralsight, thousands of YouTube videos. Oh, and of course Udemy, right? Like, it's just, that excites me. The some potential for knowledge gathering is just better than it's ever been in human history.
Very cool. Okay, third and final, complete this sentence.
Mm-hmm.
I look forward to the day when I can use technology to blank.
I would say I got to go with the self-driving car. Like, I used to like driving. And I actually didn't get my license till I was in my 20s because of New York City, right? Like, car was a liability. I hate mass transit now. I'm like, and plus the DC metro system isn't all that. So it's like I could be miserable in the train car, crammed to the gills, or miserable in the comfort of my own car. Nah, I'm gonna go with the comfort of my own car. But even then, driving is just a royal pain. And I actually have, you've seen my car. I totaled my car a few years ago, and I got a new CRV, and it has adaptive cruise control, which is pretty awesome. It'll actually brake and keep a certain distance.
Yeah.
It's not quite self-driving, but I mean, I would love the ability to just kind of do something more productive with that time.
Yeah, that would definitely be nice. Okay, share something different about yourself, but remember, it's a family podcast.
Ooh, this is something not a lot of people know. I used to be an EMT in the Bronx.
Cool. Which
is interesting because that when I was doing that as a summer job for all of like a week and a half, because I realized it was just did not have the stomach for it. But when I got a job doing tech support, frontline tech support at a trading desk with all the yelling and the shouting and all that stuff, it didn't bother me because none of those people were going to pull a knife out on me, shoot me, beat me. I mean, they would yell and scream, and it also paid 3 times as much. So there was that.
So Joel asks, what is EMT?
Emergency medical technician. So basically someone who works with an ambulance crew. Yep. I have many, many stories from those days. Some of them are not family appropriate.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But it's funny because
thank God for that work.
God bless people who do it and stay with it, because like it takes a certain amount of mental fortitude that I just don't have. But it's funny because like when I have kids, when I had kids, you know what I mean. Now that I'm a dad, when the kids like get injured or they get a boo-boo, it's like they get all work. I'm like, dude, I used to be an EMT. Like, this is not. You're gonna be okay. But it's funny, like even though objectively, see, Joel and I worked together for a number of years at Microsoft, and he didn't even know that. That's crazy. Wow. But yeah, so like there was one time when my older son, who is a younger son, who's kind of the daredevil, he needed stitches, and I remember like looking at he cut his forehead, and I just looked at it, I was like, oh yeah, we're going to the hospital. My wife's like, are you sure? Yes. We gotta go. But no, it's been one of those lifelong skills that it's just helpful, even though I'm way out of certification, but Yeah.
So I know we're getting close on your time here. Audible is a sponsor. If you can go to thedatadrivenbook.com And
dude, you skipped the question.
You get a free book.
You skipped the question.
And it is, so this is a great question because I know you keep track of how many books
Yep.
you listen to and read. Would you recommend a good book or something, or maybe share what you're listening to now, or both?
Right. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, cool. You skipped the question, not to be AR.
What did I skip a question?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. Where can people learn more
where
about
can
me?
people learn more about Frank?
franksworld.com, assuming it's up and
Boom.
running. But that we're out of time to explain that story.
But your
yeah.
data hasn't been wiped out.
Data
You
has not been wiped
got
out.
more than a decade.
Just been throttled. So but Audible sponsors data driven. So I love audiobooks. I'm at 425. I had a bit of a chuckle when I hit 420, but I'm bummed.
Nice.
But right now I'm listening to, I like the message. The narration isn't that good, but I like it. It's called 3 Simple Things.
Okay.
It's by an ex-Navy SEAL. It's really good. Really good. My favorite one, though, has got to be a toss-up between my favorite recent audiobook is got to be between John Lee Dumas's The Uncommon Path, The Common Path to Uncommon Success, or Your Next 5 Moves by I forget his first name, but Patrick Bet-David. Those are my 2 current favorites. Obviously, when I need inspiration, I'll go mainline anything by Grant Cardone.
Sure.
I think I was driving up to Sequel Saturday, Pittsburgh, and I'd like listened to Grant Cardone for like 6 consecutive hours, and I was like freaking out. Like, yeah, we gotta do this.
You were ready for anything.
I was ready for anything. But yeah, I think I actually recently turned Joel onto into the 10X role, and I think he got a lot out of it.
Good
so
book.
It's definitely a great book. But yeah, I'm
go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. No, I'm an Audible fiend.
Yeah.
Actually, I am going to set up frankdiggsdata.com as a backup site for just kind of like an online kind of resume portfolio type thing. So that way, if the blog goes down, because the blog is actually a victim of his own success. So that's why I'm getting throttled with the CPU and stuff like that.
Too many.
But the data is not lost.
True. That's true. We've been there.
Been there, done that, got the t-shirt. So I have about a minute.
Roll. Yeah.
I got to roll.
Okay.
I got to roll, but thanks everyone for listening. Thanks to Jonathan, Bill, and Joel and Bill. Definitely owe you all a call. You got your kids into it. Was that Audible or Grant Cardone? Either way is good. But I do have to run to a meeting because I am one of the adults now at work. So go figure. I have to be the responsible one. But thanks everyone for tuning in live. Thanks, John. And we'll let the nice British lady finish the show. All right, so that way I don't have to stitch that part in later. Thanks everyone for watching. I'll play a little outro and then end the feed. Thanks for watching, and this will be posted very soon. Thanks everyone.